Hi everyone. So, do you know anything about astronomy? Well, even if you see no difference between the weird names of planets and constellations and the spells from Harry Potter, you must have heard about a phenomenon known as a full moon. Sounds simple, right? But scientists are now talking about some red or even blue moon, and that might worry you a little, because it will happen quite soon on January 31st of this year. Who knows what kind of cataclysms it can cause, but don't panic, calm down. In this video, we're going to tell you everything and more about this incredible astronomical phenomenon. Let's get it on. First, we have to understand what exactly is a blue moon. It's not the moon trying to cosplay the Earth, changing its color from classic grey to blue as you might have thought. The term itself means that it's a second full moon in the same month. Well, you know, usually in one month you could enjoy one full moon, otherwise it would make life very difficult for werewolves, right? Imagine what a difficult year it would have been for Professor Lupin, poor thing. Actually, a second full moon in one month isn't anything unusual. Okay, you will see the full moon twice in January, well, if you remember about it at all. After all, in the rhythm of a big city, we don't have that much time to admire the lights in the sky. In addition, this blue moon won't actually be blue. Ugh, well, then why pay attention to it at all? The whole point is that on January the 31st, 2018, astronomers will be watching not one, but three unique celestial phenomena, all happening at the same time. Do you remember that scene from the film Bruce Almighty where the main character is preparing for a date and decides to draw the moon closer to the Earth? No doubt it looks spectacular and, let's be honest, quite romantic. However, the possibility of the moon being closer to the Earth is not an invention of the creators of the film. Any astronomer knows about the so-called supermoon phenomenon. No, it's not Clark Kent writing a huge letter S on the moon, but an astronomical phenomenon that occurs when the moon is full and closest to our planet. It happens because both the moon and the Earth rotate in elliptical orbits, and not in a circle as we're used to thinking. Their orbits in outer space look like giant ovals, so at some point our planet is really close to the moon, and we'll see it 14% bigger than usual. In addition, this moon looks much brighter, so it's simply impossible not to notice it. Imagine if someone outside your window hung a huge space pancake. That'd surely catch your attention. Although according to astronomers, 14% isn't a big number, and the moon is only 27,000 miles closer to Earth, which is practically nothing in space, but it's still very interesting to watch, isn't it? Nevertheless, this is not the only lunar phenomenon scheduled for January the 31st. Yes, a blue moon and a supermoon sound pretty cool already, but what if you add a total lunar eclipse on top? Okay, stop. Most likely you thought that this makes no sense, because if there's a lunar eclipse, then no one would see this increased by 14% moon. But actually, these ellipses work a little differently, and instead of the usual white or yellowish color, our huge moon suddenly becomes blood red. Ugh. It's good that we don't live in the Middle Ages or in some fantasy world. Otherwise, a second full moon in one month covered in red would definitely lead to panic, witch hunting, or at least to people thinking it's the end of the world. In fact, such a unique cosmic phenomenon, which according to some scientists happens every 150 plus years, most likely won't cause any natural cataclysms, wars, witches' parties, or mass abduction of children. However, if you suddenly meet Famke Janssen in the middle of the street, it's better to stay away from her anyway, just in case. By the way, an actual blue moon, like the moon painted in pale blue, still can sometimes be seen in the sky. This is due to a special optical effect, more exactly the scattering light waves, which, yes, it sounds rather difficult, but what can we do? Space is a rather confusing thing, and not everyone can understand all its subtleties. These very waves are mixed with air molecules and dust particles, and as a result of which the night light sometimes acquires an easy turquoise hue. By the way, this can be seen not only from Earth. Astronauts that were lucky enough to see the moon through a spaceship porthole described it as a smooth blue or a turquoise ball. Well, now that we've told you about this extraordinary phenomenon, it's time for something not less interesting. You're about to find out what else we can expect from space this year. From February 19th in the evening, you can see the lady planet Venus practically with the naked eye, and you could admire it for several months. But that's not all. Apparently, the sky wants to show off this year. On March the 4th, Mercury will pass at a small distance from the Moon, and on March 29th, Venus and Uranus will be seen. Astronomers say that all this is very, very surprising. Usually, to see these objects, you need a good telescope, but now you just need to look up. That's it. It's like someone in space is specially moving different planets and stars closer to us so that we can have a better view. But we can talk about aliens some other time, okay? Another planet will be seen on May the 9th. The giant Jupiter will come out in opposition to the Sun. According to astronomers, approximately every 13 months this planet approaches the Earth at a minimum distance, and Jupiter, illuminated by the Sun, becomes brighter. Of course, you will be able to see enough of it even without special equipment, but if you have the opportunity to use a telescope, then do it, and don't forget to tell us what you saw. But the most interesting and spectacular event related to the planets will occur on the 9th of July 28th. The planet Mars will be at the closest distance from Earth for the last 15 to 17 years. This phenomenon is called Great Confrontation, and it has this name for a reason. As scientists explain, the fact is that Mars rotates around the Sun along an elongated orbit. First it's approaching the Sun and then it's retreating. Every 2.5 years, our planet catches up with Mars, and we find ourselves at close distance. But if at this moment Mars just approached the Sun, the distance between our planets is the minimum possible. This is what the confrontation is. By the way, with a good telescope you can see all the details of the Martian relief, and maybe even the inhabitants of the red planet. In addition to all these curiosities, the same night, one of the longest lunar eclipses will take place. The moon will be in the shade of the Earth for almost an hour and a half, coloured in crimson. It seems to us that these are again the tricks of the witches who managed to hide from Hansel and Gretel and survive, so make sure to hide your children. Have you ever seen a meteor shower? If not, listen carefully so you won't miss this amazing phenomenon. One of the most famous meteor showers, the Perseid meteor shower, is going to be at its maximum on August the 13th. But in order to completely feel the grandeur of this phenomenon, it's necessary to look at the shiny pieces falling from the sky outside the city. In this case, you'll even be able to see the trace from a meteor. No matter how difficult and obtruse it may sound, a meteor, after touching atmospheric air, ionizes it, which causes a kind of glow. Therefore, the meteor is already gone, but you can still see its tail. You don't have to memorize all the complex names that we're mentioning, it's just that we need to somehow distinguish one meteor shower from another to tell you about them. So another powerful meteor shower, the Draconids, as you may have guessed from the Draco constellation, will reach its maximum activity by October the 8th. And another abundant stellar rain of the Gemini constellation will be seen on December the 14th. In both cases, you'll be able to see up to 75 meteors per hour flying from the sky. Astronomers hope the weather would help, because it's expected that these star rains will be the most spectacular astronomical event of late 2018. Imagine how many wishes you can make. Many of you probably thought that we weren't going to say anything about the Sun, but in fact we just decided to leave it for the end, so now it's time to talk about it. Today we talked a lot about lunar eclipses, but you probably know that the Sun also has the ability to hide. So a solar eclipse is a phenomenon during which the Moon closes the solar disk partially or completely. This unusual event occurs when the Sun, the Moon and the Earth are aligned in one straight line. So it seems that the natural satellite of our planet closes the Sun. Unfortunately, the inhabitants of the Earth would not see complete solar eclipses this year, but there are going to be 3 partial eclipses. The first of them will occur on February 15th at the new moon. The eclipse strip will pass along the waters of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans through the territory of the south of South America and across Antarctica. The second partial solar eclipse will occur at the new moon on July 13th. It'll be possible to see this astronomical phenomenon in the waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, Antarctica and in southern Australia. The third similar event will occur at the new moon on August the 11th, but not everyone will have the chance to see all the phases. This time the lucky ones are the residents of countries located in the northern and middle latitudes, such as North America, Scandinavia, Russia, Mongolia and China.